Welcome, bourbon lovers. Thank you very much for tuning in to my review. Wanted to just quickly focus on what bourbon is and kind of where bourbon currently sits kind of in the market share. To be classified as a bourbon, it has to be a U.S. produced spirit. In terms of the mash, it needs to be at least 51% corn based. It also needs to be aged in new charred oak barrels, which then a lot of these bourbon companies will actually turn around and sell it to some of your high-end Scotch people, some of your high-end rum producers throughout the Caribbean. People really love what those used bourbon oak barrels impart on their spirits all over the spirit world, just an FYI. It can also be no more than 160 proof or 80% alcohol, which you don't see. But it also has to be a minimum of 80 proof. That's probably more of a prevalent statement. What else? No age minimum, unless it's Kentucky straight bourbon, then it has to be at least 2 years old. And if it's a straight bourbon, it's not allowed to have artificial coloring or flavoring or anything like that. The mash bill is what they kind of designated what constituted a bourbon. It basically states that, so we mentioned it's got to be 51% corn. The remainder is typically made of wheats or rye, or even sometimes like malted barley, like you see in the Irish whiskey world, which is one of this guy's favorites. But yeah, and then in 1964, it actually got to Congress, where Congress actually dubbed bourbon as America's native spirit. So it is a very, very unique American product. Like I said, it's completely blown up here over the last decade. I really enjoy the stuff. Personally, it's not my favorite, but don't shoot the messenger. We all have our own tastes. But I do enjoy it from time to time. It just tends to be a little maybe aggressive or leathery, or just kind of has a, overwhelming presence to it, which isn't necessarily my favorite. But in terms of labels, there are so many that we could do, we could compare a pair every day for the next year and honestly not run out of labels. So what I wanted to do is kind of compare two mid-shelf, nice basic, pretty common bourbons that we could discuss and go from there. I also want to take one quick step back and mention that, as you probably realize now, every spirit that I review, I like to drink it neat. Just because I think that's how you're going to get the flavor, and you're able to review something at its core if you do it neat. If you start getting into ice or, God forbid, Coke or anything like that, you're just losing a lot of the personality of the spirit. So I wanted to take a step back and just mention that with all of my tasting and review, we always do it neat. That being said, I personally, because of the aggressive and the robust flavor of bourbons, I like to use these little tools that I got for Christmas, an ice sphere. I think that's perfect for these. They kind of oftentimes will actually bring out some of the flavors, but also kind of mute things a bit, which is a little bit better for me. All right, let's get right to it. Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace is, as most bourbons are, a Kentucky-produced product. Frankfurt, which is the capital, I think it's right north of Frankfurt, and it got its name because the buffaloes would migrate from west to east, and this famous trace, as they called it, or basically a path that they would follow, was directly north of where this current distillery sits. So kind of a cool name. Had something to do with Buffalo, New York, or anything like that. 93 rating for a San Francisco World Spirits Competition, which is a very high accolade, very well-respected award. Cool thing about both of these, very, very affordable. They're both in your $30 to $40 range at most. I picked this up for, I think, $37.99, and this is like a $29.99 bottle. So very, very affordable, yet very, very good. This one, I always like to do this. I actually never have tried this one. I'll get to that in a second. Buffalo Trace is something that I do enjoy from time to time. Let's pour these guys in your Glencairn, just a little dram here. And as we always do, let's start with the color. I would say color-wise, very typical. Very amber, golden brown, kind of caramel honey, almost rum-like in its color. Very nice legs, pretty basic thus far in terms of the look in the glass. On the nose, yeah, you instantly get hit with a little bit of that leather. Bit of orange. Almost a bit of like almond or like milk chocolate or something, which is kind of different from a bourbon. Let's let it rip. Very nice. Very nice. Kind of gives you that little right hook right to the chin. As soon as you swallow it, you get that nice bourbon burn right through your esophagus. Yeah, that's the thing about bourbon. It doesn't joke around. You know you're drinking bourbon immediately, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, I'm getting everything on the tongue, on the palate that I did on the nose. Very, very. I think a common trait of bourbon is the lingering nature of it. You do just get that, that warmth. Very nice drink for a blustery winter day like we're having today. So, very nice. Cleanse the palate. Next, we have the Willet Bourbon Whiskey Kentucky Straight. So this is a straight. This is a 47 proof. And what was this guy? This is a 45 proof. All right, I'm not gonna lie, I'm human. I got caught up in the packaging on this. I think it is absolutely beautiful what they did here. They basically recreated a pot still in their bottle. And let me give you a nice close-up here. It also gives you, like, what number, let's see, bottle number 137 of 275 from a single barrel bottle at the Willet Distillery. I think that's beautiful. Very nice. I'm actually going to be careful to preserve this. But look at that nice oak topper there as well. Just a thing of beauty from top to bottom. Matter of fact, it's won several awards on the bottle design. So I wanted to be careful with how I took that off because I want to conserve it as much as I can. But like anything, it's doing no good collecting dust on the shelf. We got to try it. Ooh, hear that? Kind of belched on me a little bit because of the bottle design. All right, I'm going to quickly put this back on and we'll get right to it. And perfect. Got to make it look pretty. Considering that is basically the reason I gave this stuff a shot. Like I said, I'm human. Color-wise, very similar to the Buffalo Trace. Sorry, get my fat finger out of the way. On the nose, I'm getting much more of a almost like a Canadian or an Indian or an American whiskey. Banana, a little bit of banana. Toffee, I know that word gets thrown around a lot, but I'm picking up some of that. Ooh, phenomenal legs. I don't know if you can see that. Really nice legs coming down the side of the glass there. There you go, that's a good view of them. Woo. That one's different. You get an instantaneous oily feeling right on the back of the throat. As soon as you swallow, a little more viscousy, if you will, than the Buffalo Trace was. I like to kind of move it around in my mouth a little bit to get an idea of what I'm getting. Yeah, really oily, oaky. I'm definitely tasting the oak on both of these. The oak flavor of the barrels comes through in every bourbon, and these two don't disappoint. Yeah, very nice, very nice. I would say in terms of bang for your buck, they're both very, very quality bourbons. I had no hesitations buying either again. Again, bourbon's not my favorite, but I would be remiss if we didn't at least, spend a good chunk of time talking about bourbons and what they are and where they're going and just kind of a little bourbon 101 that we kind of went over when we first started. So until next time, we are going to be reviewing probably next time we get together a couple high-end rums. One I have in the basement, one's on its way. And then again, I hate to keep teasing you with this, but that mysterious world of absinthe. Until next time, glasses up.